Oh boy, I've wanted to talk about the Islands community for a very long time. For those of you who don't know what the Isle is, here is a rundown. The Isle is a survival game mixed with the Dinosaur Simulator. Made in 2015, the game has been through many rounds of updates until their code has been deemed insufficient and had to remake the entire game. A recode, if you will. That dropped in 2020, and the reception has been mixed. It fixed major issues like controls, combat, and improved and expanded on mechanics and graphics. However, it has majorly less content than the legacy version and hasn't yet caught up in terms of roster and balance. That should give the bit of context you may need. But for any members of the OWL community that may be watching, sit back and enjoy. This is my main experience with the OWL Discord. Be aware, I'm not endorsing any harassment of the people in this video, developers or otherwise. Everyone is allowed to have their own opinions and shouldn't be witch hunted simply because someone on YouTube made a video about them. And fair warning, the amount of coping and toxicity may be detrimental to your reserve of brain cells. It all started with a post from the developers, showcasing some assets that will be used by humans, a new faction of playable characters that the developers have been working on since the game was in beta. They were never fully implemented into the game. We had seen so much human-focused things, when a fair portion of the fanbase doesn't even care for humans. I was fed up, so I decided to voice my opinion within minutes of the post, attempting to critique the development cycle and the very idea of dinosaurs in a human simulator such as this. Almost immediately, the response was negative. People memed and joked around, informing me that humans were always intended.
Honestly, scraping humans would focus more resources, keep the game possible to balance and not potentially drive off the current player base. LOL. Humans were always intended. Really make me laugh, man. All fans when a planned feature is going to be in the game. I want dinos, I could care less about the human stuff. I mean, I don't know everything being planned, it just seems unlikely to be balanced if it's still focused on survival and growth times and stuff. I think it's a clear misinterpretation of what the player base wants to focus on humans that we're not going to see for years. Everyone wants different playable dinosaurs, it's what the draw of this fucking game is. Agreed. I don't really wanna shoot or escape dinos, I'd rather play as them. Roadmap is about stuff that's closer to being released, it's not everything that'll be added to the game. It isn't updated and has no deadlines. It's been 2 years and Everma has barely caught up with Legacy in terms of mechanics. Expand on that. Fair. But Legacy's existing mechanics were missing for a long time. The new mechanics aren't bad, most of them got huge upgrades, but most of them haven't hugely changed the main gameplay loop. I don't mean to discredit work of course, but by the time the game has improved enough to take criticism focus, or convey exactly what is being focused on, change the gameplay loop, I won't be playing, it'll be too long. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. See ya. I don't mean this in a rude or snarky way, I mean it quite literally, I will be on to other things by then I'm sure. Good things come to those who wait, if you aren't willing to wait then you'll miss out on those good things. Bitching and complaining here will get you literally nowhere my dude, so save the criticism for general feedback, where it belongs, winky face. If bitching constitutes giving out pretty bland opinions and basic criticisms, your point would make sense. I'm not waiting for my 30s to play a dinosaur game. I'm sorry, the game is almost 7 years old, and it effectively rebooted 2 years ago. The progression over time isn't worth the investment, even for an indie game. I criticize the game because I care for it, and want it to be the best version. In my opinion, it's subjective, of itself it can be. Sue me if that's a hot take, to have an opinion. But here you are investing more time. I'm confused about your argument here, my dude. You paid $20 however many years ago for a game that, let's be honest, we're lucky to still have.
Stop the cap.
The devs we supported literally could have done what 90% of $20 Steam titles have done and took the money and ran, but they didn't. They are still here, still making a product as labor of love. Legit take a look into why the recode happened and the story behind it and have a bit of sympathy for the situation. They put more hours into this game than you could ever start to comprehend, but yet there you are complaining that someone else's work isn't good enough for you. DLDR, you wouldn't rush an artist making a painting, so don't rush a game developer. Because in the end you can't rush perfection. Also keep in mind, they are an indie company producing things with AAA quality. I wouldn't say I'm lucky at this moment, that's for sure. They didn't take the money and just dip. but it's just a really slow version of that. If I can't see the end in sight, and I'm not happy with the changes, I would still feel ripped off if I can't enjoy a game. Hear me out. I don't say things to invalidate the work of the devs, I say them because that's how I genuinely feel. It's hard to have sympathy when plenty of other games can get their work done in a reasonable amount of time, for better or for worse. Hell, Breath of the Wild took less time than this game, which I know isn't fair considering the extra workers, resources and income the Zelda team had, but they were trying to make the best game possible and still did it in less time. I've every right to complain about somebody else's work if I've invested into it. You may not like that, you don't have to, but I blame myself for putting my time, money and passion into a game I can't enjoy anymore. And everything I've said has ignored the community. Don't get me started. I won't. This is already a wall. The difference between a painter and a huge team of game designers is that the game devs can put out their work for early criticism, and still get paid to fund ongoing work. Nobody would buy a painting that is 70% empty canvas. But you are right about one thing, you can't rush perfection, because it doesn't exist. This game will never be perfect, even if they drained every critique from my brain. I just want to put my thoughts out there, and see if anybody agrees? Maybe I'm asking for too much, but once again, it only makes me regret my investment. It's a shame. I think one thing that's important to remember is that that's honestly just a risk you take with early access games. Not saying I believe this to be the case with EA, but there's never a guarantee an EA game will turn out right. And that's a risk you gotta be willing to take if you buy the game. The Isle has been out for 7 years. I completely agree with you, brother. It feels like the devs are going into a stalemate or just making us wait for no reason. They have the resources to make the development time faster, they just don't. Also, it seems as though the devs ignore what the audience actually wants. Has anyone even said they wanted humans to begin with, or are we all here waiting for dinosaurs? Yes. They've been planned since the start and since before dinosaurs were planned. Every single one of us plays the Isle because it's a dinosaur simulation game, and what the gamers have been constantly asking for is more dinos. They should have finished the dino roster before doing humans, cause not many actually care about humans. It isn't. It's a game with dinosaurs. Humans have always been planned from the very start. Hear me out. Try to trim the fat. This game is ambitious, and I love it for it, but there is a limit. As said multiple times in this discussion, they only have so many resources as an indie team. Do we really need all of the animals on the roster? Again, I personally don't care for humans, and the formulaic and generic gameplay that is being implied with their inclusion. Some mechanics, in the way they've been described to my knowledge, sound like development hell waiting to happen, if we aren't already in that phase. The monthly dev blog has become predictable and lacking in substance. I've seen people making bingos of them. The game needs to cut down, refine and add more from there. The ideas are wonderful, but it's just too much. Much like a fat man at an all-you-can-eat diner, shoving down too much content isn't healthy for the game's lifespan. We're not getting all playables being playable for officials. Be glad to play the game at all. Why be glad? I'm perfectly allowed to criticize the game. I've bought it just like you. Be glad because they could just as easily take the other route and not include us as a community to help them build their game. Good luck getting your input in any game of this quality, my guy. It just won't happen. Dondi, if you could only make humans or dinosaurs playable, which would it be? Humans. Lol. He literally just said he'd rather have humans than dinosaurs playables. OMG, humans have guns and are gonna shoot all the defenseless dinosaurs, and it's gonna just be a shoot 'em up game with unlimited ammo and no balance. That's what you sound like right now. 70% of the player base would leave if Dondi had his way? Majority of us play this game specifically for the dinosaurs. Humans are pointless. Wow, look, another survival game where you shoot guns at monsters, so fun. You keep saying be glad for things that aren't positives. If I lost both my legs, I wouldn't be glad I don't have tooth cavities. It's completely unrelated and is a non-argument when you try to assuage people's criticisms.
Scrapping humans would also disappoint a lot of players, including myself, and drive off people waiting for humans to come into the game before they purchase, such as a good deal of my friends. That's the problem. But I feel the only reason for the Isle's current success, as well as its current state is even being played, is for the dinosaurs. The logo, marketing and concept of the Isle is more about the dinosaurs than there are humans. In an ideal world, we wouldn't have to drop one for the sake of the other actually being finished, but this is an indie team trying to put two massive games into one. It's not happening for years at the game's current pace. Insert human dick. No way they made a dick, wait, it's just pixelated. I've been clickbaited. It's been said before that yes, there is something there.
Oh my god, bro.
Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man? Get your ass on, boy.
Why the modular creating realistic models, Gare? Whatever dude, just gonna refund the game when humans come out. Have you played for more than 2 hours? But why when you can literally play on a server that disables them? Wait, you can still refund the game? 2 hours? I've played for 4,000 hours, but I can make my case to Steam that the game is no longer advertising as what it was when I purchased the game. I've done it before with other Steam titles. Also might as well refund the game now then, since humans come out in update 6.
That one didn't age quite so well.
This man, Skull react him. Do you need assistance being moved out of this Discord so you can find somewhere more appealing? This clearly isn't it. You're a joke, I'll leave this Discord myself, make sure you don't lift a finger. Otherwise it might take another 8 months to create one dinosaur model.
Damn! And then he left.
Refund the world! Refund it sooner!
DLDR, neither the Isle or its cesspool of a community can handle basic criticism. This game ain't worth your money, little bro.